Hello, my dear students. My name is Ms. JAYITA. I am an assistant professor from the School of Pharmaceutical Sciences, USTM. Today I am going to discuss the topic that is from B.Pharm 6th semester, Unit 5, Good Warehouse Practices and Material Management. So in our presentation today, we are going to discuss the introduction, the different types of warehouses, the characters of good warehouse, the good warehousing practices, the WHO guidelines of good warehousing practices, and material management. So moving on to the introduction. So first let us know what is a warehouse. So a warehouse is basically a suitable space that is provided to the raw materials, the handling of raw and packaging materials required for the manufacturing and also for the finished goods. So this space collectively is known as the warehouse. So different dosage forms that needs to be stored once it is packaged or even before the manufacturing starts and before it is getting transported to different places, it needs to be stored in the warehouse. So maintaining proper storage condition for the pharmaceutical products is very vital. The temperature, the relative humidity, it should be within the limits. So it is very important to follow good warehousing practices and good distribution practices to ensure that the quality of our products that is being manufactured, it is remaining of top notch. So there are various areas in a warehouse. So first is the receiving area. So it is the area wherein the initial inspection takes place, the cleaning of the materials, if there is any dust or any other particles, those needs to be cleaned, and then the weight of the raw materials or the finished products, it is getting checked. Next, there is the sampling area. So in the sampling area, there are certain facilities which are present in order to test the raw materials before they are going for the manufacturing process. And also, it should be in such a way that it prevents the cross-contamination and the things that are stored inside do not get mixed up with each other. Next is the storage area. So there are certain specific storage areas like air-conditioned rooms, cold rooms, hazardous chemical storage room. So if our raw materials or the finished products require some specific temperature, they are stored as such. And if something that is very hazardous of toxic nature, those are stored separately. Then there is the rejected materials area. So the materials which do not pass the quality control test, they are being stored in the rejected materials area. And lastly, we have the dispensing area. So this in the dispensing area is the place from where our pharmaceutical products are getting dispatched for transportation to different locations. So the premises of a warehouse must be located, designed, constructed, adopted and maintained in order to suit the different operations that are required to be carried out in the manufacturing process. So there are different types of warehouses like private warehouses, public warehouses, cooperative warehouses, bonded warehouses, distribution centers, cold storage, export or import warehouses, and lastly the climate controlled warehouses. So first let us discuss about private warehouses. So it is owned by a company, by a private company for shipping and storing its own products, the products that are manufactured by that particular company, and it is being managed and owned by different manufacturers or traders. Next we have the public warehouses. So herein they provide the storage and physical distribution services on rental basis. So each month we have to pay the rent, and those are usually used by smaller firms. Next, we have the cooperative warehouse. They are owned, managed and controlled by cooperative societies which are present. Next, we have the bonded warehouse. So they are licensed to accept imported goods for storage before payment of customs duty. So when any goods which are imported from different countries, they are being stored before the payment of the customs duty, and after that they are shifted to other warehouses. Next, the distribution centers. So these distribution centers are designed to move goods, highly automated. Those are highly automated and they receive goods and efficiently deliver to customers. Next, we have the cold storage. So temperature is controlled here for sensitive products. Next, we have the export or import warehouse. So they are usually located near ports, the seaport, where international trade is taken. So these provide storage facilities for goods awaiting onward movements. And lastly, we have the climate controlled warehouses. So they provide storage of many products which need special handling conditions, like they are having lower temperatures for products which require to be stored under cold storage, like freezers for frozen products, etc. So now let us discuss what are the different characters of good warehousing. So first, it should be located at a very convenient space so that it is easily accessible from the manufacturing unit and also easily accessible to the transport department. Next, the availability of mechanical appliances to load and unload goods. So usually warehouses, the loading and unloading takes place in a huge quantity. So specific mechanical appliances or the transport devices should be present. Next, it should be properly cleaned. It should have proper sanitation and hygienic environment. Next, it should be equipped with latest firefighting equipments. So in case there is an incidence of fire, then those materials are being prevented from getting burnt. Next, good preservation of drugs and equipments. So the drugs, different drugs or formulations which are being formulated at the pharmaceutical industries and the different equipments, they are preserved properly. Next, provide safety for staff and stocked goods. So the staff who are working, they should have proper humane conditions, and also the goods, they should be stored at the specified temperature and relative humidity. Next, there should be control of air, light, humidity and temperature. So in order to provide human conditions for the staff and the stocked goods, proper air, light, humidity and temperature should be present. Next, products to be purchased according to needs. So we do not need to stock unnecessary amount of materials. We only purchase the products which are required for the manufacturing of a particular formulation. Next, order the destruction of unsuitable products. So if the products, the rejected products or any other products which is no longer required, they needs to be discarded and should be handled properly. Next, to promote the rational use of pharmaceutical products. So we do not need to store unnecessary amount of products or produce unnecessary amount of products. Only as much as the demand is there in the market, that much only we manufacture and then we store it in the warehouses. So next, let us discuss the good warehousing practices. So guidelines of good warehousing practices includes, first, the drugs must be stored to prevent contamination and be positioned to allow for inspection and cleaning of the area. So the drugs should not get contaminated by any sort of contaminants like dust, air or moisture, and they should be easily inspected during quality control tests and proper cleaning of the area must be done. Next, each lot of drug products must be identified with a distinctive code and the lot status must be identified, approved, quarantined and rejected. So each batch of products that we are receiving inside the warehouse, they should be having a proper batch code and the status of that particular batch should be mentioned. So if after conducting the quality control test, if it is within the limits, then it is approved. If it is not, then it is rejected and it should be properly labeled. Next, written procedures must describe the distribution process for each drug, how you are going to distribute among different wholesalers or when you are going to sell those products or send them for transportation. Next, written procedures must describe the appropriate storage conditions of each drug, at what temperature, at what relative humidity you are going to store the particular formulations, that should be properly specified. Next, warehouses must ensure the storage of each drug is in line with its specific requirements defined by the manufacturer. So the manufacturer gives a label of instructions to the warehouse and the warehouse should maintain that in order to maintain the quality of the products that are going to be stored inside it. Next, temperature control space requires sophisticated control and monitoring equipment to ensure that the temperature of the facility stays within very specific parameters. So this temperature control should be present inside the warehouses so that the temperature is maintained at all times and prevent the deterioration of that particular pharmaceutical product. Next, climate control space regulates and monitors both the temperature and humidity of the space. So there are climate control space regulators which are present, which are maintaining the temperature and humidity at all times. So next we are going to discuss the good warehousing process. So first, the agenda. Under agenda we have the premises, so the place where our warehouse is going to be located. Next, the security, how much security is being provided, proper security measures should be taken like CCTV surveillance and other parameters. Next, temperature and humidity control, which is an integral part for maintaining the quality of the pharmaceutical products. Next, proper equipment should be present. Next, properly trained staff should be present to handle that particular area. Next, the sanitation should be maintained, it should be hygienic, and it should be cleaned from time to time. Next, receipt of incoming goods, proper receipt and documentation should be done for each of the goods which are entering inside the warehouses. Then warehousing of finished goods and dispatch of finished goods. So once the manufacturing process is completed and we are receiving the finished goods from the industries, manufacturing department, they should be warehoused properly and also be dispatched at the properly specified time. Next, packing for transportation. So before we are going to transport that particular amount of pharmaceutical products, we need to pack it properly in cartons and then dispatch it. Lastly, the transport. So during the transport also we have to take care about the temperature and other relative humidity and other environmental factors, so that during the process of transportation our pharmaceutical products which are manufactured do not get spoiled. Next, regarding premises. So the premises should be of suitable size and construction to facilitate cleaning, maintenance and orderly segregated storage. So the premises wherein the warehouses are going to be present, they should have proper size. They should be big enough to handle that much amount of materials which are incoming. And also it should be constructed properly and in such a way so that it is easier to clean, maintain, and we can easily segregate the items before we are dispatching them. Then the storage areas must be designed to provide adequate illumination, proper light facilities must be present, ventilation should be present for the circulation of air. Next, temperature, the temperature should be maintained, sanitation, proper cleaning should be done from time to time, it should have the specified humidity, it should have proper space, it should have the proper equipments for the quality control tests, and lastly the security conditions should also be present. Next, each material should be stored separate from other materials to avoid the risk of cross-contamination. So if we are storing the raw materials inside the warehouses, usually raw materials are in the powdered form, so there can be higher chances of cross-contamination within this raw materials. So they should be stored separately so that there is no cross-contamination which can affect the quality of our products. Next, incoming materials should be quarantined until approved by the responsible person. So whatever material is incoming inside the warehouses, it should be stored in a separate area, which is known as the quarantine area, and once it is approved, it can be brought inside the main warehouse. Next, a segregated area must be provided for returned, recalled and rejected goods prior to a decision on further action. So if any of the materials which are being dispatched and marketed, they are being returned, recalled or rejected, then we have to store them in the proper specified areas which is away from the main warehouse. Lastly, a secured segregated area must be provided for the storage of controlled drugs. So the drugs which are like the narcotics or some other drugs which require specific specifications, so for that we must have another separate area. Next, regarding security, the storage area should be provided with security to prevent theft or unauthorized entry. So anyone cannot just enter. There should be no unauthorized entry and security must be present at all times. Then maintain a control of who may enter the facilities. There should be a specific list of people who can enter the warehouses. Then establish system for controlling access to the facility, including all entrances and exits. So proper entry and exit systems must be present inside the warehouses. Next, regarding temperature and humidity control, all materials must be stored at appropriate conditions as stated on the label of the material. So our finished goods, they are having the label wherein the specifications are being specified at what temperature and what conditions it needs to be stored. Then the temperature of all storage areas should be regularly monitored. So from time to time, proper inspection must be done whether the temperature and humidity is being maintained or not. Then controlled temperature storage area should be equipped with recorders and devices which indicate when the specific temperature range has not been maintained. So there should be alarm systems which notify the people if there is any fluctuations in the temperature or the relative humidity. Next, a written procedure must specify the action to be taken when this occurs. So a proper SOP must be designed. So in such cases, what is to be done? Next, control should be adequate to ensure that all parts of the storage area are kept within the specified temperature range. So we have to properly space the temperature controllers, the humidity controllers at all areas so that the temperature is being maintained. Then we should always have a backup system in case the main system fails. So in case there is a power failure, then there should be other options which are present. So the humidity of all storage areas should be regularly monitored and recorded. From time to time we have to inspect what is the temperature, what is the humidity. Then if the product specification requires a specific humidity, a written procedure must specify the action to be taken when the specified humidity range has not been maintained. So whenever these sorts of anomalies occur, it should be noted down and documented. So establish a normal operating baseline of humidity if no specific value is required. So we have to maintain a normal humidity range at all times if there is no proper specifications that is being specified in the labels of our finished goods. Then records of temperature and humidity in all storage areas should be reviewed and retained by a designated responsible person. So the responsibility of maintaining the temperature and humidity should be given to a particular person, and the person should take care of that. Next, moving on to the equipments in the warehouses, there should be a planned preventative maintenance program in place. That is like air handling units, they should be placed at proper areas. Then recording and control equipment should be verified and calibrated in intervals by appropriate methods. So whatever the equipments which are present for checking the temperature, humidity, they should be calibrated, otherwise they might show false readings. Then alarm set points should be checked on periodic intervals. So the smoke detectors, fire detectors, if those are present, whether they are working or not, that also should be checked. Next, a computerized system should be used for stock control, distribution and validated. So for the incoming and exit of goods inside the warehouse, it should be maintained in a computerized way. Next, regarding the personnel who are working inside the warehouses, the organization chart should be in place. There is a proper organization chart which needs to be made. The responsibilities of each personnel who are present inside the warehouse must be defined. There should be sufficient number of staff. There should not be like too many number of people or too much less people which can overburden them, and this can create a problem in maintaining the quality of the product. Next, there should be clearly defined job description. So each person should know their own job description and responsibilities. They should be properly trained, and they should be proper. They should have proper qualifications. Next, the personnel should be trained in relation to goods storage and distribution practice and to the duties assigned to them. So they should be having proper knowledge, and they should utilize that in the warehouses. The current records of training should be in place. So whenever the training is taking place for the personnel and how much they are learning from it, those should be noted. The trainer should have established an approved qualification. So the trainers who are going to train this personnel, they should also be properly trained. So usually the organization chart, the first, the main responsible person is the head of the stores. Next, responsibility goes to the manager of the stores, and from the manager of the stores, the responsibility goes to the deputy manager of stores, the senior executive stores, and the executive stores or assistant stores who are present. So moving on to the sanitation, a proper cleaning program should be defined, and it should be made into a proper standard operating procedure. So how frequently the cleaning needs to be done inside the warehouses, which materials we are going to use for the cleaning purpose, everything should be mentioned in the SOPs. A pest control program should be in place. So there might be some biological agents like rats or some other microbial agents. So in order to prevent that from happening, a pest control program should be maintained. Then smoking, eating and drinking should not be permitted inside the warehouse areas, and even if done, that should be taking place in a segregated place away from where the main products are getting stored. Next, the material spill must be promptly cleaned up in accordance with the relevant health and safety requirements for materials. So in case there is a spill of the finished products or the raw materials, it should be cleaned then and there according to the cleaning procedures specified in the SOPs. Then adequate toilet and changing facility should be provided to the personnel who are working, and should be segregated, that means should be separated from the main storage areas. Next, the receipt of incoming goods. So it should be carried out according to approved adequate SOPs. So visually we are going to examine the consignment, whatever is incoming inside the warehouses, like the delivery challan, then excise invoice, COA, etc. The document should be essentially consisting of the following information. So the name of the material, the name of the manufacturer, batch number, manufacturing date, expiry date, this should be clearly specified on the incoming goods. Next, we have to visually examine physical condition and verification of consignment for damage. So if there is any visual damage that is occurring to our incoming goods, that should be noted down. And we have to cross verify the container labels with the documents which are provided along with that particular goods. Then we have to reject the product if it is damaged or if we find it unfit for use in the manufacturing process. So if any discrepancies is observed in the documents, the material packing, the vehicle condition, then the warehouse officer should bring it to the notice of the head of the warehouse and the head of the quality assurance. Next, warehousing and dispatch of finished goods. So it should be carried out according to the appropriate adequate SOPs which are present. Next, the storage area should be maintained or designated to ensure good storage practices. It should be stored properly. Next, the finished product shippers should be kept on pallets batch-wise in defined high stacking to avoid fails down. That means how much quantity of finished goods a particular seller requires, that much should be provided to them, and they should be queued in order to provide them from time to time. So there should not be overburdening of manufacturing, or there should not be extra amount of formulations which are getting prepared. Next, the storage area should be suitably secured and of sufficient capacity to allow for the safe storage and handling. So it should be big enough to handle everything. Then storage area should be clean and dry and maintained within acceptable temperature limit. Then the record should be maintained of storage condition. Records of temperature monitoring data should be available for review. So in case of any audits, it is easier if we keep the records of the temperature and humidity details. Then prepare adequate shipping package to protect any damage of goods, seal pack and provide relevant identification. So we have to prepare the adequate shipping package, the proper labels in order to prevent the damage to the finished goods, and it should be packaged properly before it is getting transported, so that in the transportation process our product is maintaining its integrity. So next we are going to discuss the packing process for transportation. So the product should be packed in such a way that the identification of the product is not lost, so we can easily identify the product. So the product does not contaminate and is not contaminated by other products or materials. So there should be no incidences of cross contamination. Then adequate precautions are taken against breakage. If we are transporting glass materials, then we should properly label it as fragile so that it is handled properly. Then products requiring controlled temperature storage should be provided with insulated packs. So if we require cold storage, then the transporting vehicle should either have the refrigerated system or we should provide with insulated packs. Next, there should be in place documented evidence that the insulated packs ensured adequate transport conditions with regard to product quantity, ambient temperature and maximum delivery time. So the transportation method which we are choosing, it should be able to deliver the finished products to the sellers in time. Next, transport. So products should be transported in such a way that the safety, identity, strength, quality of the product is not lost. So we have to give the proper labels and we have to maintain the integrity of the labels, and we have to make sure it is not getting contaminated by any other materials, and adequate precautions are taken. Next, records. So we have to maintain the records of our products. So the receiving material, the delivery challan, invoice, checklist, this should be maintained. Then the issuing material, the BMR, the batch manufacturing record should be kept. Next, the finished goods receiving packaging list, outgoing invoice, delivery challan, this should be present and should be authorized with proper head signature. Then training should be done of the people who are working in that area. Next, monitoring temperature and humidity. Next, cleaning operation, pest control, calibration, preventative maintenance, recall, complaints, inventory and log of signature. The format should be properly maintained. Moving on to our next topic, that is material management. So the material management is an important factor in the pharmaceutical industries. so that whatever materials we are required for selling, those are present in hand. So the main needs of material management include to have adequate materials on hand when needed, to pay the lowest possible prices consistent with quality and value requirement for purchased materials, to minimize the inventory investment, and to operate efficiently. So this material management, it is a management tool, basically a management tool. So it is helping us in order to determine the right quality and right quantity of supplies at the particular amount of time, and it should not overburden the inventory, and we will be having proper good inventory control and adopting sound methods of condemnation and disposal for the efficiency of the organization. So basic principles of material management include planning, proper planning should be done, organizing, then staffing, proper number of staff should be present, directing, the responsible person should direct the roles to the different staffs accordingly, then controlling, reporting, budgeting, sound and effective purchasing system and methods for the raw materials, then must not increase any other cost, so we have to maintain the costs also, and simple inventory control program. So how we are going to maintain this whole inventory? So there are different elements of material management. So first is demand estimation, how much products we require for selling and how much public demand is there. Then identify the needed items. So what are the different raw materials we require for the manufacturing process? Then calculate from the trend in consumption during last 2 years. So last 2 years records we have to maintain, and how much of that particular formulation has been sold in the market. Then review with resource constraints. So we have to take care of the resources also. So how much resources we are having, we have to make sure of that also. So next is inventory control. So the term inventory means the value or amount of materials or resources that we are having in hand for the manufacturing process. And inventory control is the process by which this inventory we are going to measure and regulate the whole manufacturing process. So this inventory control, it is ensuring an adequate supply of materials, the better utilization of available stocks which are present, and it is checking against the loss of materials. So there are different types of inventory models which are present. So first is the economic order quantity, also known as EOQ, then always better control or ABC analysis, then VED analysis, and FSN analysis. So first we are going to discuss the economic order quantity. So EOQ is the technique of ordering materials whenever stock reaches the reorder point. Okay, so we are going to order the materials when our this finished goods are completely going to get over, and we need to reorder them to the manufacturing unit. So in this technique, the order quantity is larger than the single period's requirements, so that ordering cost and holding cost balances out. So we can define EOQ equals to average monthly consumption into lead time plus buffer stock minus the stock on hand. So the lead time is the duration between placing an order and the receipt of material, the raw materials that we require for the manufacturing process. Next we have the ABC analysis. So this technique divides inventory into the 3 categories. So first it is the A items category. So herein those are present in smaller quantity, but they consume a large amount of financial resources. So these are managed by the top management, and they should have a strict and closer watch. So the materials consist of around 10% of the inventory, but consist of 70% of the total cost. Then we have the B items category. So these are of the intermediate level. They are managed by middle level management, and they should have moderately safety stocks. They comprise of 20% materials which are bearing the 20% of the total cost of the inventory. Lastly, we have the C items category. So these are available in the most largest quantity, but they are consuming a very small fraction of the financial resources. So they require only ordinary control measures. So they comprise of 70% materials of the inventory and comprise to the 10% of the total cost of materials. Next we have the VED analysis. So it is based on critical value and shortage cost of an item. So the items, they are classified into 3 categories. First is the vital. So shortage of products cannot be tolerated. So these are the vital drugs which are required to be present, vital drugs or the vital raw materials. So they are stocked adequately to ensure smooth operation. So there should be adequate amount of these products which should be present at all times in the inventory. Next we have the essential. So shortage can be tolerated for a very short amount of period, and they should be efficiently stocked to ensure regular flow of work. So they also should be stocked efficiently so that there is no breakage of the timeline of the work. Lastly, we have the desirable. So shortage will not adversely affect, but may be using more resources. So they can be easily purchased from the market as and when needed. So they do not require any specific procedure. We can easily get it at all times. Next, we have the FSN analysis. So FSN stands for fast moving, slow moving, and non-moving. So this classification is based on the pattern of issues from stores and is useful in controlling obsolescence. So these items are usually grouped in period of 12 months. So first, it is helping to avoid the investments in non-moving or slow items, so which are already stocked. We do not require them at all times. Then no issues in the time period, the N item, that means non-moving items. Then 10 to 45 issues in a particular period of time. Those are the S items or slow moving items. And lastly, the exceeding other limits of issue, that is the F items. So with this, I'd like to conclude my presentation. That's all. Thank you.